Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show, featuring Clay Hall. Clay, we're just going to jump right into some things, man. This is a three time a week podcast. I got back Sunday, real nice, pleasant drive back from Columbia, South Carolina, where my baby brother Tony, who's going to be 68, and I saw just our third Alabama game together. We grew up big Alabama fans. He's still a ridiculous Alabama fan. He was replete in his Alabama gear in the midst of Williams-Brice Stadium, which was a hopping joint. And Alabama had the big comeback on the road against South Carolina and got the job done. Meanwhile, you would have liked to have been in Stark Vegas, a.k.a. Starkville, Mississippi, over the weekend to watch Mississippi State host Texas. Do I have that correct?
And take a 17-point lead with 12 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. One other thing,
wait a minute. I want to make sure. I want to make sure people know this is not a Southeastern Conference centered podcast.
That's why I'm going to add this. I was thrilled that you could be with your brother at this game in the SEC. I was thrilled that Anthony Rothman could be with his brother they don't get to do that much at IU to see the Hoosiers whammy UCLA. I just thought about it, just warmed my heart, brother. And both of your teams won. So it was a great weekend for brothers.
Yeah.
There you go.
I wouldn't call myself a huge Alabama fan anymore, because I want to tell you something. The last 2 minutes of that game, I was just enjoying the game. I don't know if that's good or bad. That I've like I said, I quit crying when Alabama lost football games when I was 12, and but ever since then, I mean, maybe I care. I mainly cared for my brother, but I was enjoying that football game because, boy, South Carolina came out and just fought. Man, like you wouldn't believe. Their defensive front, number 93, I think the kid's name is Barrett. He's not a kid. He's a big man. But, I mean, there was just some great football played in that game. Great as in defenses getting after the other teams. Not great as in offensive football for the most part. But I enjoyed – I think it's just the third game I've watched from the stands, college football game I've watched from the actual stands
I hear you.
In 42 years.
That's
if I'm doing my math correctly.
Right.
And the other two were in 2019 when I had fully retired, I thought, but got dragged back into this. But I still went to see Alabama play Texas A&M at Texas A&M and Virginia Tech to play Notre Dame at Notre Dame that year with one buddy one time and another buddy the other time. Right. But the bottom line is it was so much fun being in that crowd.
Yeah.
We were in the upper deck. We had good seats, not great seats. But you know, Ohio State, of course, had the weekend off, the number one team in the country, had the weekend off. And some teams lost. Some teams pulled out wins. Alabama found a way to win that game. Texas found a way to win at Stark Vegas, which I know broke your heart, you being growing up a Mississippi State fan.
I'm off the respirator. It's okay. By the way, the quote from Rothman as he texted me in the first quarter.
Yeah.
This is surreal, brother.
Yeah.
I think he was taken by the atmosphere because as a student, it was nothing like that.
Nope. It was basketball U.
That's it.
And now it's football U. And it is.
Coaching matters.
Nothing matters like winning.
There you go.
There may not be an I in team, but there's an I in winning, and there's in victory, and there's a couple I's in Indiana, and obviously a couple I's in Signetti.
You didn't tell me I was wearing these.
Yeah, that's okay, man. Everybody knows how old you are. You're not embarrassed anymore.
Get yourself together.
But the bottom line is, so I'm going to have a conversation that we're going to play that I did with my brother, Tony, after the game, sitting there in Williams-Brice Stadium while everybody filed out, and then I'll have a talk about how horrible traffic control was leaving that venue. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're Ohio State fans and you see how thoroughly, smoothly the constabularies Is that the right term? Constables.
Wow, I like that.
How smoothly they
Yeah.
get you into and then out of Ohio Stadium. I'm gonna tell you, this was a nightmare. We sat there for 90 minutes and didn't move, and we thought we were in a pretty good parking lot, which was back behind the football facility, and I paid decent money for that spot. And so I guess what I could say is I got my money's worth.
Yeah.
But I yelled at a couple of highway patrolmen as we were making the right-hand turn. You know, boy, if you ever watch any of those cop videos on YouTube, South Carolina highway patrolmen pull no punches, as you well know, in chase pit maneuver scenes. But I didn't care. I was really upset. We sat there. The whole parking lot sat there for 90 minutes and wasn't being let out for some reason. Woo! I guess they needed to run us through customs. I don't know what was going on. But the bottom line, it kind of ruined the otherwise great, didn't ruin it, but it tainted the great experience, because instead of going out to a nice restaurant to eat at the end, we ended up going through Bojangles and getting a couple of chicken sandwiches.
There you go.
Yeah, but chicken, spicy chicken sandwiches at 10:15 at night when you're 71 and 68, almost 68, my baby brother. Those, you take what you can get, right? And we did a bow on it. They said, "You want to bow that?" Heck yeah, pump it up.
What is a bow?
It's Bojangles where they add a little more
super
to the order, because we were hungry. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Over the weekend, of course, on Sunday, we got news that former Ohio State All-American center, former All-Pro center, Nick Mangold, passed away. Man, the age of 41. We all saw the plea put out a few weeks ago, asking if people could see it in themselves. Somebody was looking for a match to get a kidney transplant because he had a chronic genetic disease that led to kidney disease for him. Let me, as he said, even then, thought he was going to have a lot more time left before you would have to necessarily get a transplant or need a transplant. And Bobby Carpenter, former teammate of his, spoke about that eloquently on the radio today, just about the shock of just talking to him last Wednesday.
Right.
And still looking, and it basically, I guess they were thinking there was a good chance they had found maybe one or two people that might match and stuff. But just, boy, suddenly, for whatever reason, over the weekend, he went downhill really fast. Got 4 kids?
Yes.
And a beautiful wife. Your heart goes out to them. But Nick Mangold, one of the more fun people you and I ever covered at Ohio State. Just always full of life.
Just a joy to be around.
Yes. He was extremely clever young man. Always liked to turn a joke. Always got your joke. But on top of that, great teammate. You can ask anybody. We've got Matt Wilhelm coming up here on Mondays with Matt conversation. And we talk a little bit about Matt Wilhelm about Nick Mangold before we move on to a few other things. But obviously they were teammates on that 2002 Ohio State National Championship team. And I remind people, Nick Mangold was a pure freshman out of Kettering Alter.
Yeah, there you go.
Who played, as the season went on, played extensively and played in the national championship game, the win over Miami. And that was really when he really staked his claim. And then, of course, he was a fixture.
11 years.
Yeah.
With the Jets.
Had 2 long starting streaks, interrupted only a couple of times, and just amazing. What a man he was, with his long hair and his beard. And at the end, he looked like a lumberjack at times, and played off that. And just Nick Mangold. You're going to be missed, my young man. And the bottom line is, after the Matt Wilhelm, I'm going to play a video that I did. Me and a couple other reporters did with him a year ago when he went into the Ohio State Hall of Fame.
I'm glad you found that.
And as I point out to Matt in our interview, he has made the quarterfinalist list or something for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class that's coming up. I think it goes to semifinalists, 25, and then 20 finalists before they get down to the winners, Super Bowl week.
Right.
So we'll see how he fares there. But I think he has I think he has Hall of Fame credentials, Pro
Solid
Football Hall of Fame
chance.
credentials.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, a lot of guys are kind of in his category, never won a Super Bowl, but was all pro twice, was in the Pro Bowl 7 times. So that's pretty good recognition either by the people who observe the game or by your fellow players, the Pro Bowl rosters, that you're considered one of the best of that era. So,
and he could get in later on the senior list.
Well, yeah, but he's not even close to that yet.
Yeah. It'll be a while.
Right. Yeah. You're jumping way ahead there. He could get in the next couple of years. We'll see. But anyway, so sad to hear. But, like I said, Ohio State was off. We know they worked on a lot of stuff last week before they broke after Thursday's practice. I guess guys got to go home if they wanted to. A lot of these guys, of course, can probably afford private jets to take them back and forth, or even a helicopter. They resume. I'm sure they got together late Sunday to start working on Penn State. Like I said, we'll talk about Penn State, Ohio State, Penn State. They revamped Penn State. Whatever you could say about Penn State right now, will be coming into Ohio Stadium after an off week, and then before that on a 4-game losing streak. Matt and I talk about that a little bit too near the end of our discussion. So you know what? And then, like I said, we'll have my video talking with my baby brother Tony after that game, and then I'll show you a little video I shot with about 2 minutes left in that game. The atmosphere in that stadium, Williams-Brice Stadium, has always been legendary for its atmosphere. But there were people there who were claiming it was the best atmosphere they'd ever experienced. So I'll just show you a little snippet of that. But let's go ahead and go. Unless you got something to say, you want to talk about the latest polls before we move on?
No, I was just going to add that A.J. Hawk, I think, is a Hall of Fame nominee. I noticed last week that he got on that list. So there's another guy who has credentials. Was a leading tackler, I think, all time, right, with the Packers.
Yeah, and came in the same exact time Nick Mangold did. They were from the same hometown, Centerville. Of course, A.J. Hawk played for Centerville
with Mike Nugent.
Yeah, and Nick Mangold played for Kettering Alter.
There you go. Well, yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about all the teams who are, in that top 10, and we have a tie for 10th. But OSU, you got Ryan Day, you got Signetti, you got Mike Elko, who has made A&M a thing, now 3 in the poll. Lanning is a great coach. Lane Kiffin, who now feels like he has the universe around the neck. Who knows how many offers he's going to get. Ole Miss is number 7 in the country after knocking off homestanding Oklahoma. Clark Lee has made Vandy number 9 in the country. It might be like Mississippi State back in the day being number 1. The Commodores living in an alternate universe, but Pavia and Clark Lee and the rest of them, unbelievable. Then you got BYU, Miami tied for 10th. BYU with a quarterback who wears 47, I believe. And I'm sorry, I don't know the young man's name, but
was it Buckmeyer?
Yeah, that sounds right. It just Big Ten not getting a whole lot of respect there. I mean, obviously in the top 10. Beyond that, other teams you might think would be in the mix are not. But you got OSU's in, IU's in, Oregon likely in, and we'll see how it goes from there. But the stretch run is upon us, and it begins at high noon Saturday in the Shoe against Terry Smith and the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Absolutely. We're going to talk more about the playoff possibilities later in the week. It's because the first college football playoff rankings are going to come out next week, and it'll be interesting to see how the committee sees it as opposed to the polls see it, because they supposedly have all these other top secret kind of ways of rating teams one way or the other. Not that they necessarily are bound by that, but it'll be fun to see how that goes, because there's so much football left to be played.
Right.
And for example, Oregon is going to play a huge role in who that maybe, if there's a possibility of a fourth Big Ten team joining the fray in the college football playoff, Oregon is going to play a huge role in that due to its schedule down the stretch. So we'll get into all that later in the week. But let's get into my usual Monday conversation with Matt Wilhelm, former Ohio State All-American linebacker, national championship linebacker, former Super Bowl champion linebacker. We had a great conversation about a lot of things, starting with Nick Mangold.
Always enjoy my Mondays with Matt. That's what we'll call it from now, Matt.
There you go.
Or if we do it on Wednesday, it'll be Wednesdays with Wilhelm.
Hey.
Sure, I'm going there.
Can't do Tuesday or Thursday or any other day of the week.
Hey, we might hit a doubleheader one of these times. You know what I mean? When things get really raw near the end of the year. But first of all, before we get going, but talking about football and talking about your high school exploits as a high school coach and everything else you're working on, including discounts from your local cable carrier, as we preface with, but we won't get into that. We don't want to lose any possible sponsors. Man, the passing of Nick Mangold, we saw the online, in essence, plea for him, looking for someone that might match him in terms of a kidney transplant a few weeks ago. And now all of a sudden over the weekend, we find Nick Mangold has passed away at the age of 41, former Ohio State All-American, basically played on the national championship team that you were on in 2002, went on to an all-pro career with the New York Jets. I think he was in the Pro Bowl 7 times, was voted all-pro 2 or 3 times. But, man, just like that, a guy that I really enjoyed covering and being around, and he's gone, Matt. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so sad. And actually, my son Mason and I think I was on one couch, he was on the other, and I didn't have my phone in my hand, and he got like the push notification or the ESPN notification that he had passed.
Yeah. And
I thought at first it was, because sometimes you have to kind of validate information on the internet by, multiple sources. So I was caught off guard, and I was like, it's just that oh no feeling, and you're kind of like your stomach and your heart drop. And that's not just about Nick, but about any person of substance out in the world that has had some type of influence. In this case, he was a former teammate of mine, like you said, and it's so sad. And I think it just allows you to also put a lot of things in perspective that we do have when you are healthy, with healthy children. And again, I think it also allows both, husbands and wives to look at each other and go like maybe maybe to maximize your appreciation, because, life is fleeting. You're blessed every day to be able to wake up, to have the ground beneath your feet and the sun on your face. And now you have these individuals that, family members that don't have, this man. And I think, not only Nick, but it also allows me, because then you have an outpouring of other folks, in my network who reach out and, okay, hey, so sad, condolences, for your teammate, did you play with him? And of course he did. And that's the one thing I think a lot of people don't realize. I think, I don't know how many, but, Alex Stepanovich here and there in that 2002 team, maybe missed a game or two. And Nick, as a true freshman, came in and started some games when Alex Stepanovich was still, healthy and starting. Nick Mangold was like the jumbo offensive lineman, down in the goal line packages and probably on PAT and field goal. So his role, along with, AJ Hawks, that 2002 season, was for a true freshman bigger than some people might realize. And it's just very, very sad. And I think, my next thought was not only for Nick, but it's Shane Olivier, it's Ivan Douglas, it's Will Smith, and now Nick Mangold. So, and that's just, quick thought is, 4 guys, 4 teammates that you go to battle with, that you have a bond with, some closer than others, that from that 2002 team, and how special that was, that are no longer here. And it's just very, very sad.
Yeah. It said something about just his ability that he, like you said, started a few games and played in the national championship game too, extensively for that as a freshman for that 2002 national championship team. That, wow, what a player! But then, he was funny. He was witty.
Witty's a great word. I think he was a tough ass.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that, this is a guy that, for me, it was Charles Bentley, then Alex Stepanovich, then Nick Mangold. When you look at, Ohio State football over the course of maybe like a 7-year span, to have these 3 dudes all go play in the National Football League, LaCharles was a multi-time Pro Bowler before his career got cut short because of the knee injury.
Yep.
Alex played a bunch of years in the league. I think Nick had the best career of probably a lot of Ohio State offensive linemen that might have played for Coach Tressel. Taylor Decker is another that's probably still playing, but the New York Jet Ring of Honor, New York Jets Ring of Honor, and I think when the time comes, and it might not be immediate, but like he's the guy, given his resume, is going to be on some ballots as a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Because what the Jets were with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez, although they didn't win a Super Bowl, it was winning the division. It was playing in an AFC Championship game, and Nick as a center was just a stalwart. I think I saw it 264 out of 269 starts in the NFL, some crazy number like that. So
2 big long streaks.
It might have been 164, 169. I'm not positive, but it's like just a stalwart and a guy that loved by so many for his personality and who he was as a person, but also as a player.
Yeah, he's already made the first cut. How they go about doing that for the Hall of Fame. Then they cut it to 25 semifinalists and then 20 finalists, and then they let the unique way they let you know whether or not you made the Hall of Fame. But he's deserving of all kinds of awards, because I thought he was just a tremendous human being, and got to talk to him the night he was inducted. Me and a couple of reporters got to talk to him the night he was inducted in the Ohio State Hall of Fame. I'm probably going to run that video after we get done with this later in this podcast. But Nick Mangold, 41, man, way too early. Great family. Feel for the family for sure. He and AJ Hawk, came out of Centerville. Of course, I think did Nick go? Was he from Centerville? But did he go to Kettering Alter? I'm trying to remember. But I should have looked it up for a start.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, that is the case. Yes.
But the bottom line is, what a tremendous football player and tremendous human being, left his mark. He didn't just leave it as a football player. I want to ask you this. By the way, did you guys win this weekend?
We did not. We lost a tough one to Archbishop Hoban.
That was
24
showdown game, right? Is that the best way of putting it?
Showdown game. That obviously they're an elite program in the Division II of Ohio. We're Division I, so but it's a battle. It was it was close. It was some turnovers and unfortunate events here and there. But again, we fought. Mason played both ways. Played 89% of the snaps on both sides. Almost played 100 snaps in the football game. So He was a warrior. And again, we now, like everybody in Ohio who's made the playoffs, transitions to the second season where there's teams getting in at 2-8, 3-7. Even with the new format, some 8-2, some 10-0. You kind of wipe those clean. Thankfully, after a battle the way that it was versus Hoban, we've earned, and so did they, an opportunity to have a first round bye under the new formatting here in Ohio. So it's going to be new for the boys, new for the coaching staff to kind of like manage a first round bye, very similar to the NFL schedule on getting some work in and kind of staying sharp without really even knowing who you're going to play.
Hey, by the way, before we move on, do you go along with that? Because there's nothing more, I don't know, wrong looking than a 1 or 2 seed in high school playing a 15 or 16 seed and just killing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you agree with
my take on it? I know, and again, I'm absolutely, I absolutely love the new change in format. And I think it was the old COVID format of 16 teams getting in.
Yeah.
Again, I know we're not sponsored by the OHSSA, but in some cases it was a revenue generating opportunity for more games. But to have a solid football team, 8-2 or better, top 3, top 4 in the region, to have to play a team that is 0-10 or 1-9, that has no deserving nature to be in the playoffs. I think what it does, most sadly, is it forces a high school football coach to have to manage playtime at a high level. Run out, get up by 30, put them in a running clock, get your starters out. And it's just another level. And I think it also, to me, is, as a guy who, when only 4 got in per region, never played in the playoffs because I was always 1 win away in many cases at Elyria Catholic. I'm a little jaded and I guess I don't know what you call it, salty about the fact that, young men on a 1-9 football team have a, state playoff qualifier tag and a t-shirt, and, 7-3, 8-2, 9-1 Elyria Catholic football team in a tough region, with, me on that team, never got into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I think that the OHSA addressed the change at the appropriate time. I think you now, as opposed to playing those wasted games, they now, reward the top 4 seeds with a first round bye. And I think for us, at Eds, and I'm sure for a lot of teams, it's an amazing time to get healthy. And I think lastly, the same way you look at the college game as we transition here to, Ohio State on their bye week and what's ahead of them down the stretch, like having 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids playing 16 straight weeks, if you're going to go win a state championship, is just a lot on these still developing bodies. Whereas, and we've heard about it this year with offensive efficiency with Ryan Day of managing this roster and managing games in preparation for a long season. Now, doing that with teenagers is a kind of like entirely new, a new thing. And now, don't get me wrong. I mean, those that don't qualify for the first round bye have to go do that still,
right,
if they're going to make a run to the state championship game.
Right. It's kind of like the college football playoff. Now, if you don't make the buys or the first round buys, then you like last year, Penn State. If Penn State had beaten Notre Dame, Penn State would have been playing a 17th game against Ohio State for the national championship. Speaking of Penn State, speaking of the transition, by the way, I went to see. I don't know if you know this, and I went to see Alabama at South Carolina Saturday night or Saturday afternoon.
How was that?
Into the night with my baby brother Tony, who I like to say is going to be 68. But we had a great time and saw a hellacious football game, man.
Yeah.
At Williams-Brice Stadium. That place was unbelievably rocking. I counted up, it's just the third game I've watched from the stands, college football game I've watched from the stands in 42 years. And had a great time. All these South Carolina people, they were really nice even after the loss, because they had an upset right there in their hands.
I was tracking it, not watching it, but I was following along.
But I want to tell you something. I came away with this. I probably spoke about this in somewhere before we ever got to your interview here in this podcast today. Ohio State's better than Alabama. I'm just talking about watching them play, and that's my take on that. I would take Julian Sayin over Ty Simpson. Right now, I think Julian Sayin, every time we see him, is getting better. I'm talking about for the Heisman Trophy right now, I would take Julian Sayin over Ty Simpson. Alabama's run a gauntlet, but, hey, who doesn't? Who plays in the mighty SEC, right?
Yeah.
Just ask them. But the bottom line is, what are you expecting this week? First, from the Ohio State side, as they take on host Penn State at high noon on November the 1. What are you expecting from Ohio State? And then I want to ask you what you're expecting from Penn State, but do the first one first.
Sure. I'm expecting a sharp Ohio State football team that is, as we talked about last week after their win, is going to address some of the things that they don't think are up to the level it should be for a championship level number 1 team in the country. We talked about the run game. I wouldn't be surprised if there's been some shuffling or along the offensive line. What that's going to look like, it might just be one guy. It might even just be splitting duty. Whatever that looks like. I think at this point, we can be enamored with what Matt Patricia has done statistically. We can look at Matt Patricia and what he's done schematically, and we're enamored with it. And I just don't think he's done. I think he's got so much more in the bag. And I think because he has the tools, those are the players, to be able to go out and execute those things. There are things that he probably wants to shore up, like always, because, in a coach's eyes, it's really never good enough. So you're always maintaining, you're chasing perfection, which is never attainable. But I also think that there might be some looks that you were able to practice that maybe as the game flow and game prep became a thing you wanted to see. And I think also maybe moving forward, and this could be the week that we see it, is if how different are they going to be without Aller? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How different are they going to be with James Franklin, who was not the offensive coordinator, but I'm sure like all head coaches from an offensive standpoint have, some feedback or say in what they do.
Dabbled in it.
Yeah. What they do and when they do it, or a specific play that he liked all week that maybe the offensive coordinator has avoided, that he kind of, throws his 2 cents in there. So I think they will have studied last year's Penn State game. I think they're going to, of course, it allows you the time to take a deep dive on who Penn State is, maybe with James Franklin, without James Franklin, how much has changed. So I think that's what I look at from an Ohio State standpoint, because, again, they are unblemished. I think the offense with Julian Sayin in the pass game is highly efficient. I think you're always going to look for ways to get Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith touches. I think it also allows Ohio State's running back room to filter itself out even more, but also get those guys healthy, as I know a couple of those guys have been dinged. And then second half of your question, what do I expect from Penn State? I think Penn State is a school that has an immense amount of tradition and immense amount of pride.
Yep.
They know, it's very clear, the players, coaches, and staff know exactly where they're at and what's going on.
Yep.
But that being said, you can change some of the narrative associated with it, even though there's, a whole lot of uncertainty, about what's going to happen next, by going out and playing great football, playing as a unit, and playing great football against the number 1 team in the country on the road.
Yep.
And what does that mean? They're still trying to win recruits right now that are, dropping like flies in that class. There's still guys playing for themselves, whether they maintain their standing on that roster or they hit the transfer portal, in January. I think there's still coaches coaching for their jobs to be maintained by whomever takes this job over when they hire a new head coach. So there's a lot at stake. And I think, as I said, the tradition and the pride are one thing, because the whole I think they are going to go out and they're going to play hard. And I think they're going to challenge us. And I think they're going to attempt to be the Penn State that we thought they would be when, we looked at this schedule on some of the challenges, in front of Ohio State. But I also believe that if Ohio State goes out, to your point, as if they're as they being better than Alabama, if they go out and take care of business, it should be the result that we expect, which is a win for the Buckeyes at home.
I was going to say, if I'd told you in August, our first thing we did together this year. Oh, by the way, Matt, I'll throw this at you. I expect Penn State to lose 4 games in a row in the middle of the season. You've been on teams, man. You a team that won the Super Bowl, a team that won a national championship. What happens to teams from your vantage? Because you've been on a couple of teams that slid a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
What happens to teams that causes something like that? And I'm talking about college football, meaning 3 of these losses, or 2 of them for sure, were what the hell, right?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, what starts festering is finger pointing. And then there's a fracturing of the locker room. And that's where I think this staff needs to really rally, is to bring this locker room together, because there's especially with the firing of James Franklin, it's a shock. It's a shock to all, because everybody came in to play for this man. And, he was the lead voice, of that team and of that locker room. And now you have to divert to a new voice. And so, I say it actually steps back to like the cliques of probably much more of like a high school type of team, where it's like the offensive guys are blaming the defensive guys, and the O-lines blaming the skill guys, and the back ends blaming the front end for not being able to get enough pressure, so they have to cover long. It's just so easy for you to start finger pointing and fracturing off, And then also, I think that's why I say coming together as a unit is not only are you fracturing off maybe in pods, but you have individuals fracturing off individually and really going, well, I'm going to play for me.
Yeah.
If there really isn't a we, and it's going to be what it's been, which is to your point about losing 4 in a row and the way in which they've lost and to whom they've lost to, well, man, I got to look out for me, and it starts being very individualistic mindset in that locker room. So I think, again, pride and tradition, and really like bearing into that as a coaching staff. And I think even more so, maybe even like the strength staff, because you spend a lot of time with strength staff, strength conditioning staff, and they're not the X's and O people. They're more like the people, the discipline, the leadership, the grit side of it is challenging some of these young men to rally. And I think you can undo a lot of the narratives associated with Penn State as they sit right now, based on the performance they put forward, at 12 noon at Ohio Stadium.
Absolutely. Real quick before you go. So Ohio State benefits a little, I think, because they've already seen a revamped Penn State under Terry Smith, saw them go to Iowa, take a lead, good lead, and blow it. But they've seen the reshaped Penn State, for want of another term, including starting quarterback and stuff. That is a little bit of a benefit, right? As opposed to running into like a UCLA that just fired their staff or just fired their head coach, and then UCLA pulls the upset on Penn State, which started the snowball really rolling. But I mean, that is a little bit of an advantage for Ohio State, right?
It definitely is, and I think then I think our Ohio State staff seeing that, evaluating it, and then you start to question, and again, maybe not necessarily the position coaches, but some of the analysts, within the walls, or the assistant coaches within the walls of Ohio State. You start to ask, well, what are the layers? They look like this. What are the layers that they have off of these new concepts, both offensively and defensively, that we also can, be prepared for, which kind of starts today in game prep week. You've maybe dabbled in some of those over the course of the bye. You got healthy, really focused on yourself, but now you get into understanding who the new Penn State, what they look like, and then what are the layers that they can build, schematically on offense and defense to attack, a very, very good football team, and start to at least get looks of those throughout the week. So although Ohio State and all the really, really great football teams can pivot and make in-game changes, but to just be prepared and have some of these looks be seen by your offensive and defensive guys, on what you could possibly out of a hungry, potentially angry Penn State football team that has to undo a lot of wrongs that have happened so far this season.
Hey, last question. What is it in that 2002 season, for example, when y'all went undefeated but had all those close games, ridiculous close games? Did y'all make any big change at all defensively as the season went on, where Mark D'Antonio or somebody put forth, hey guys, this isn't really working for us. We're going to do this now. That you remember having a profound change. You follow what I'm saying? Meaning, just a little nuanced thing to make a big. Go ahead.
I don't think truthfully, I don't. Not one does not come to mind.
Okay.
And I think so much of the performance we see from Saturday to Saturday. And of course you evaluate the result, of your side of the ball and how you performed, but then also the result, at least in 2002, was a win every weekend. And while there are always things to fix, and I mean, I know that even at St. Ed's, we have an entire period, of practice that's called Fix Ourselves.
Yeah.
And it allows us to go back in. We've watched the film. We walk through what the offense did to us, what we did. And then again, our guys do what they did wrong. And then we coach them up on the fixes. If you have some chinks in your armor, which, at least defensively for Ohio State, there's not many, right?
Yeah.
If you have some chinks in your armor, you're going to see those attacked every single week by said opponent, whoever it might be, until you fix them. So the sooner you can fix them, in some cases, Tim, it's schematic fixes. Well, I'm not going to call it. Or you move a technique from a guy from a 2-eye to a 3 technique, and it can be that little. Or what also happens at a bye week, and I think now flipping across the ball, it's the whole, Shabola, Josh Padilla thing is it could be a personnel switch, that is also a trigger. And I think, this bye week is going to serve Ohio State extremely well, that if you were going to tinker with anything, this is the week to tinker, because you don't want to be tinkering week to week moving forward. So whomever, I would assume, or whatever plan they've created for some of those personnel switches, I think it's going to be a switch. And you have to stick and ride that switch, that switch out throughout the rest of the season, because you don't want to be tinkering week to week, while you're preparing to go play a Big Ten football game.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Wilhelm, the incomparable Matt Wilhelm. There's only one Matt Wilhelm, at least on my show.
There's many. Believe me, there's many, and I usually get messages from them saying, "Hey, we got the same name." But yes, there's only one that has the accreditation. I guess I have, right?
Yeah. There's a Tim May that was a great guitar player. Tim May that was a great cricket player. Is that what you call him?
There's a Matt Wilhelm who's actually like a BMX biker, like a elite level BMX
I didn't
biker.
know that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
You met Wilhelms. You're all daredevils. Anyway,
Yeah,
but hey, Matt, sorry so much to hear about your former teammate. Well, I guess your teammates for life when you win the national championship. But
yes,
Nick Mangold passing. But thank you once again, man. We'll see you next week.
my pleasure, Tim. Thank you.
Yeah, always enjoy my conversations with Matt. I hope you folks do too. If you don't, tough luck. I'm going to keep doing them.
He's your guy. He's our guy.
Yeah, but I mean, anyway, I've said it a million times. I'll say it maybe one. I've liked Matt since the first day I met him. You know what I mean? Type dude and stand-up guy. You know, doesn't mean stand-up guys are always right, but he's pretty right most of the time. You know, and
he's articulate.
Yeah,
and he's kind of like Ryan. Ryan never tries to. Hey, I'm through with that question. He will give you
an answer,
a thoughtful answer to your question.
Yeah,
and that you appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely.
That he's actually listening.
And that conversation, you know, obviously started with remembrances of Nick Mangold. I wanted to throw this in there real quick. I mean, I did. Me and a couple other guys did an interview with Nick when he was inducted into the Ohio State Hall of Fame last year. And God, just still stunning to me.
It is.
41 years old, and you never know, you know.
No, you don't. You
just never know. Embrace every day, and we'll get back in a minute, talk about embracing a chance to be with my baby brother again. Right. We'll get back to that in a minute, but let's get to this quick little interview we did with Nick as he was being inducted into the Ohio State Hall of Fame a year ago.
Nick Mangold, in a nutshell, what does this mean to you?
It's an honor. You know, coming here as a freshman, never know what to expect, and to go 14-0, win a national championship, and then continue on and be able to go to the NFL for a long while. To come back home to where it all started is pretty special.
Did you envision this when you were playing at Ohio State, that you could be in the Ohio State Hall of Fame one day?
No. I was just playing and, you know, hoping not to lose my job. And, you know, it was never once in my thought process.
When you just think back on your whole football career and everything you've accomplished in it, just what does it mean to you that you were able to have, you know, not only a great career here, but also a great career for the New York Jets?
Yeah, you know, I think Ohio State is something special because that's what I wanted to do growing up, you know, play for Ohio State. And Ohio State is the only level I won a championship at. I didn't win a Super Bowl and I didn't win a state championship. So having a national championship is pretty cool. And so it's just something special. And, you know, it was a springboard to my career in the NFL, which I'm pretty proud of.
You remember that freshman year? You played a big role as the year went on and stuff. What was special about that specific year in your mind?
For me, I mean, the team, the coach, the games that we won, you know, the hard-fought games, overtime in Illinois sticks out in my mind. I played a lot that game, so that's why it sticks out. And, you know, being underdogs, going into Miami in the Fiesta Bowl. And everyone telling us we didn't have a shot and getting it done.
But what came right about that team, Nick? Like you said, it was your championship, you know.
Yeah, it was great senior leadership. You know, I think that between the coaching staff and the senior leadership and bringing us all along was what made it. You know, Mike Dawson was a very special person to that team and really helped lead the way.
Into that game real quick, I was just out of curiosity. That flyer.
It wasn't pass interference.
No, of course not. But the flyer that was sold down to Miami, was that really a thing? The flyer from down to Miami at the party? Is that really something you guys use?
It's been so long.
I've heard Mike talk about it before, but I didn't know if that was still just kind of a myth. Or
you got to remember, I was 18 at the time.
I got you. How about the Maurice Durant thing? Were you all a little aware of what was going on around you out there?
No.
I never asked you.
Yeah, no, I had no idea. But, you know, you try not to pry too much into different things, and so some things you miss and some things you catch.
See, we always think all these things affect you guys, and often they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's the thing. You as an NFL player, you were over the top, outstanding. What do you do now? I mean, what do you fill your time with now from the standpoint of I don't know, getting that thrill or whatever it is you want to call it, that, you know, can you ever fill in that blank?
Yeah, I got 4 kids, and so being the best dad that I can takes all my effort, and so that's what I do. I try to win each day as a dad, and that's kind of how I turn my focus.
I know you came back.
Some of them, yeah, not as much as I'd like to be. You know, staying up on the East Coast, kind of disconnected a little bit over there, but try to do the best I can.
I know you went back to school a few years ago, got your degree here from Ohio State. Just what made that important to you?
Just finishing out, closing the chapter. It hangs in my office, and so it's nice. My mom really appreciates it, and so that was probably a big push.
Is there anything that's been done for you just in life that you accomplished from that?
Yes. I won't elaborate, but yes.
Love some Nick Mangold there.
Isn't it great that he went in the Ohio State Hall of Fame? I watched yesterday the video of him going in the Jets Ring of Honor or Hall of Fame there, that all this was done while he was still with us, and he got that acclamation and reward for being great player, great citizen, great teammate, however you want to put it.
Yeah, we'll see if he ends up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like I said, he has credentials. A lot of guys have credentials similar to his. You know, I mean,
Sure.
there always is a pecking order. Matter of fact, I think the Hall of Fame is sort of. I think they've kind of put it out that they want to maybe be putting fewer guys in instead of more. That may be the College Football Hall of Fame, because there was a time it seemed like 20 guys were going in every year in the College Football Hall of Fame. I know that's hyperbole there, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, but just the one part of that little interview right there that just struck me, my 4 kids, man, they're keeping him busy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for those youngsters, man. That's a great dad they don't have anymore. And I'm sure others will try to help fill the void, because he had a lot of friends. You know, and speaking of family, I don't mean to make a hard segue there, but I got to spend the weekend with my brother Tony, my baby brother Tony, who's going to be 68, as I like to introduce him. But he's been on here one time before. But you know, we sat there in Williams-Brice Stadium after the cheering was done,
Right.
And then the crying was done after Ohio State had that. Alabama had that great come from behind victory at Williams-Brice. Whether Alabama should be considered in the same realm with Ohio State right now in terms of 2025 football teams, I don't believe so. From watching them play, from watching Ty Simpson play, I'll get into that. We get into that, comparing the teams a little bit. Of course, Tony's going to be very biased, and sometimes when you're neutral about something, it sounds like you're biased the other way, right?
Right.
But hey, without further ado, let's just get the crowd had cleared out. There were press conferences being held underneath as we were speaking, and Tony, I found a little place in the southwest corner, lower level of the southwest corner of the stadium, and came up with this little give and take interview, whatever you want to call it. But this is my baby brother, Tony May.
I promise you folks I'd give you a report, watching Alabama live, up close and personal. And boy, what a game. My baby brother, Tony, here he is, who will be turning 68. Tony, you like the way I described you?
Yeah, I do. I get a kick out of it every time I hear that, Tim.
Yeah, make sure you speak up so the folks can hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
You're always were the guy in the corner that was a little bit quiet, but was scheming at our family reunions, etc. But Tony, we must Alabama fall behind in one of the more raucous venues I've ever visited in college football. I've never been to Williams-Brice Stadium in South Carolina, but I was incredibly impressed by the atmosphere, by the South Carolina fans being in it, and by there were quite a few Alabama fans, a lot like when Ohio State goes on the road, Buckeye Nation travels, and Alabama travels. But wow, what an incredible win for Kalen DeBoer and Ty Simpson with that keeper after they got the ball back on the fumble and probable fumble. Ty Simpson goes around right in and gets the score. Reminded me of a Ken Stabler run way back in the mid-'60s for Alabama. But just the way he made it happen, because he had not had a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Ty Simpson, one of the leading leaders for the Heisman Trophy as we speak. I'm sure the way the game finished is going to help him, but the way the game ensued really didn't help him much. But I wanted to ask you this, Tony. What was your impression of Alabama, your beloved Alabama, after this game?
Hey, first off, Tim, I want to thank you. I love you, my brother, and thank you so much for lining this up for us to come out. This was such a blast.
Yeah. Well, you're buying dinner, so there you go.
Yeah, but such an environment today. But it was incredible. The atmosphere in the stands was just incredible with what all that they do here in South Carolina, and just all the spirit that they had. And most everyone was actually pretty nice and friendly throughout it all too, which was good, except for one guy.
One
you
guy.
know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. First, I wanted to provoke something with
That's
him.
right. Yeah.
And then you did.
Yeah. On a bad call they made against them.
Yeah.
But anyway, any call they make against them is bad to me.
Yeah.
But no, I just really will say, I'll tell you, with I guess about 2.5, 3 minutes to go, maybe 4 minutes to go, it was looking pretty bleak for Alabama, and they were able to fight back and come back and get the thing tied up. Went for two, got the two, and that was fantastic. And then when they were lucky enough to get that ball back on the fumble and played that out just right. I do just have one correction on you, though, on that last play, the scoring play. That wasn't Ty Simpson. That was Germ that took that in.
Okay.
They put him in the, what do they call it, the pistol or whatever, the play. And he took the ball and took it, 25 yards for a touchdown.
He's trying to set up the field goal.
Yeah, what a way to cap it off. But I'll tell you, my hat's off to South Carolina, especially their defensive line. It was tough sledding in there. And I think when we looked at it right then at about 4 minutes, I think Alabama had something like 47 yards rushing.
Yes.
And
And what did I say?
You said you reminded me
up to now.
That's right, exactly, right before that play. So
yes.
It was incredible. But no, great game, great atmosphere, just an SEC fighting atmosphere. The stadium was pretty well packed.
Yes.
And it was incredible.
Yeah.
That's all. I just keep saying incredible, but I'm so happy that we got this thing through and we're able to get this win on the road.
It's a
huge win. That's the season. I mean, it's a season sitting there.
It says something. It says something about a team that finds a way to win when it really probably shouldn't have won, but finds a way to win in the fourth quarter. Wow, the last, especially 8 minutes of that game were crazy.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at it and I'm trying to match in my head, Alabama versus Ohio State. I think Alabama's got a really good defense. I don't think their defense matches what Ohio State's got going for it now, on the one hand. And then offensively, Ohio State, Julian Sayin, I saw Ty Simpson throw the ball all day. I think I would go right now with Julian Sayin as the much better passer of the ball. Not regular, especially on deep routes. They had a chance to make a couple of big plays in this game, and Ty Simpson couldn't connect. So I'm just looking at man-to-man. Yeah, I would take Julian Sayin right now. And then team to team, a team that finds a way to win, you give it up to them. Ohio State has not been pushed to the brink yet this season.
Right.
How Ohio State would react, pushed to the brink, maybe we're going to find out this week when Penn State comes to town. Everybody's thinking, it should be a pushover with what's happened at Penn State, but Penn State still has one of the loaded rosters in the Big Ten especially.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. But I really like Penn State at the moment. Ohio State at the moment. If I was just matching these guys up in my head. Sure. What do you think?
Sure.
You watch Ohio State.
I understand that. I think Ohio State's got a hell of a team, and I think they're playing excellent on both sides of the ball. All weapons are on go. It's just amazing all the tools that they have. I will never submit and say that Alabama would lose to anybody. I'll never give in on that until the game's over and we've got the score done. Because I think in both cases, both Ohio State, you and I have been watching both of these teams all of our lives. Remember all the times of the Michigan and Ohio State games we watched on Saturdays and when we were little kids. But in either case, man, just never, as Rudy Tomjanovich said with the Houston Rockets back in the 90s, which is where I live, never, ever underestimate the heart of a champion.
Yep.
And when it's on the line, those guys can rise up and do things that you may not think are possible.
For Rudy T, did Rudy T say that before he got punched?
Yeah.
I'm not sure he said much after that punch.
The punch was a few years before, but that was after, I think, the championship #2 that they won there while Michael Jordan was on retirement.
Yeah. But on sabbatical.
That's right.
He was on sabbatical.
Exactly.
For playing baseball.
Exactly.
Hey, I want to ask you this real quick.
Great teams.
Real quick, like right now, what is your take on Kalen DeBoer? Do you think he's, you're a huge Alabama fan.
I am, and I'll tell you what, I've stayed behind him all the way. There were some times when what we were going through last year, and I'll tell you, I was one sick little puppy after game 1 against Florida State. The things that we were seeing where the offensive line was breaking down, and Ty Simpson in that game was running for his life the minute his fingers touched the ball on every snap. And I remember sending you a text, and I said, Tim, I can't go through another year of that. Luckily they've kind of corrected some things there, but I still think there's some weakness on their offensive line. Let's the rush get to them. But Simpson's a great leader. And I think they've got a lot of great players that step up and make plays like they need to, like they did today when they need to.
Yep.
So anyway, my hat's going to be in the ring with them until the very end, until there is no chance. And so that's where I'll stand now, and it's where I'll stand forever.
Okay. I mean, I think everything, you got to let anything germinate. And I really believe that Kalen DeBoer, when you see the heart of a champion on display like we saw tonight in the fourth quarter of Alabama with that drive for the tying score, including the two-point play, and then getting the little bit of luck maybe, but they forced that fumble late, and then driving down and getting the winning touchdown. That says a lot, not just about the team, but it says a lot about the head coach, who clearly a lot of people were figuring out how much is it going to cost to get rid of this guy after the opening game, and now they're probably sitting 4 or 5 in the country in the latest polls. Very much in my opinion, in the driver's seat in the Southeastern Conference, right? Would you agree?
I think it's in their hands. Yeah. It's in their hands to play out, and take on LSU, take on Auburn, do the things that take care of their business. But I'm going to tell you, with DeBoer, I think for somebody in their second season following a coach like Saban, and the good thing about him, I think it shows a lot about him with the confidence of his players, is they didn't lose any players after year 1 to the NIL. Nobody. Everybody stayed, and that's what some players even stayed longer into their full senior of eligibility. Also,
and by the way, Ohio State fans are grateful that before that happened, Caleb Downs and Julian Sayin escaped to Ohio.
And I'm still sick on both of those, especially Caleb Downs, because I got to see him play. I got to see him play as a freshman. What a player. What a great player. And again, my hat's off to Ohio State. I think they've got a heck of a team. But again, I won't give in until it's over.
All right. I'm going to go back now with my buddy Clay Hall on the show. But, Tony, I totally enjoyed this trip down south. Got to see my daughter in North Carolina. Got to see you. My baby brother, who's going to turn 68, my remaining surviving brother of my 3 brothers. Right. And we had a great time, ladies and gentlemen, in Columbia, South Carolina.
Hey, one last thing. I just want to say, Tim, I love you. Man, I've always loved you. You've been my heart and soul most of my life, and taught me how to throw a curveball when I was 12 years old. And I just want to tell you and Clay, and I'd love to meet Clay sometime. I love y'all's new format, your new show that y'all have going on right now, and hope y'all can keep that going for a long time to come. I watch every one of them as soon as they come out, all the way down in Houston. So anyway, good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
He read that just like I wrote it for him at the end there.
That's just great stuff. By the way, some of your journalistic greatness has rubbed off on Tony.
Oh yeah.
He made some nice little points there, came in with the Rudy T.
Corrected me on, I'm thinking, I'm sitting there in the upper deck and I'm thinking, I was looking at how South Carolina was lining up defensively, because I was real curious of how they were going to attack Ohio State on that when it ended up being the touchdown play. And I didn't notice it was the Wildcat back who faked a pitch, I think, to Ty Simpson, and then went around the corner. And as you notice, by the way, I do not believe in this at all. The guy who had a shot at knocking him out of bounds pulled up and let him score. So South Carolina would at least get the ball back. And I don't believe in that. I mean, I literally play it out, go for the block
to the end.
Block the field goal, try to block the field goal. But man, I just never bought into that. We get the ball back, and then they did get the ball back, and did nothing with it, and that was the game. But wow, what a wild finish! By the way, we were talking about the raucous atmosphere. Let me just check this out real quick.
Okay.
That was with 2 minutes left.
That's the great thing about college football.
The game, by the way, started in daylight. It was a 3:30 start. Go ahead.
No, just some of the traditions. Mississippi State does Don't Stop Believing. It
Yeah.
started with Dan Mullen when you really didn't stop believing because he started stacking wins there. And it's like,
Yeah.
we can be somebody.
Yeah.
And to see 80, 85,000 going nuts.
Oh,
It's just pro football. It's just a different animal.
yeah. Like I told you, I mean, several of the fans around. We became kind of buddies with all these.
There you go.
There were a lot of Alabama fans in our little area too, but became friends with a lot of the South Carolina people. They were really nice. No one was like over the top inebriated in our area, which helped, I think, for both sides. But
Right.
but very much enjoyed being at that game. Like I said, until afterward, and we spent like 45 minutes to almost an hour hanging around in the stadium before we left, because that's what May boys do. You know, we love football, and then sitting there for 90 minutes on the parking lot, not moving.
Thinking you were going to make a quick escape.
Oh, not just make a quick escape. We were both hungry, you know, and on top of that, and when Mama called, back in the day, supper.
Yeah.
She didn't have to say it twice with the four May boys. And that stuff went fast.
Good stuff.
But I digress. Tony, like I said, he's going to be 68. I mean, our mom and dad are gone. Our other two brothers have been gone for a while. And any chance you get to be with your loved ones, that was just our third game ever watching Alabama play. I'm talking about live at the facility. The first one was the Cotton Bowl after the 67 season when Texas A&M upset Alabama, and Bear Bryant picked up Gene Stallings. Little did he know he'd be his successor one day. Well, a few years down the road after Ray Perkins and another guy messed it up, but Bill Curry, and then he brought him back to a national championship. And then in 1970, the Astro Blue Bonnet Bowl in the Astrodome against Greg Pruitt and those guys, the Oklahoma Sooners, where they had moved to the Wishbone middle of the year.
Yeah.
And what was symbolic about that was Bear Bryant going against the Wishbone was enamored with it. And that was when, in the offseason, especially late, he called his old buddy, Darryl Royal, and said, I want to learn that. I want my coaches to learn this Wishbone because we're going to put the Wishbone in because I really think it can take you places. And Darryl Royal said basically his staff, including Emory Ballard, as we've talked about.
Thank you for that mention.
A future Mississippi State head coach.
Yeah.
A future Texas A&M head coach, by the way. Isn't that funny how that ran? But anyway, I digress. And they put it in the same, what they call the turning point moment for Alabama had been the year before when Sam Bam Cunningham and USC came to Tuscaloosa or to Birmingham and beat Alabama something like 42-21. And it was before Alabama had a dressed African-American player on its sideline. I think they had already broken
the color.
From a signing standpoint with Wilbur. Is it Wilbur Marshall?
Wilbur Jackson.
Wilbur Jackson. But the next year they go to the Coliseum in LA and open, and Southern Cal had no idea that Alabama was going to come out in the Wishbone with Johnny Musso and company, and Alabama pulled a big upset there, like 17-10 or something. But the point is, it's what a cherished moment for me. I know you've had those moments with your brother
lately a lot.
And cherish them. And like I said, man, I hate to end this on a somber note, but when you see Nick Mangold go as a young man still in really the prime of his life, now his football career was over, all the hard knocks of that, but to find out late in his career, to find out late in his life, as it turned out, that he had this kidney situation, it's too bad. But hug your loved ones every chance you get, even your wife.
There you go.
But anyway, I'm Tim May.
Double on your wife.
We're going to talk about Penn State, ladies and gentlemen, and Ohio State. What's going to be the real big one? Now Penn State's coming in on a 4-game losing streak plus an off week. Ohio State's number 1 in the country with a bullet coming off an off week. coming up this week. We'll talk
Great
about
Monday. Great Monday.
We'll talk about this more and more as the week goes on. But I'm Tim May, and that's
Clayton Hall.
And until next time, we'll see you then.